Welcome back, friends. Today, we embark on a journey into the heart of flavor as we prepare a dish that feels almost mythical. Stick around, because this isn't just cooking, it's history, tradition, and a story on your plate. If you love diving into the stories behind every dish, make sure to hit that subscribe button. There's a whole world of flavors waiting for you. Steaks have been around for centuries, from ancient Roman banquets to medieval feasts, and every culture has its own take. What we eat today is the culmination of centuries of tradition and technique. Here's a little secret. The perfect steak isn't just about the cut, it's about patience. Letting it rest after cooking lets the juices redistribute, giving each bite that legendary flavor. Did you know that the way a steak is seared can change its entire profile? A hot pan caramelizes the outside, locking in the aroma and creating that irresistible crust we all crave. Back in the day, steak was a luxury only kings and warriors could afford. Today, it's a celebration of history, culture, and craftsmanship that anyone can enjoy at their table. By the way, if you want to elevate your cooking game, check out my shop. You'll find knives perfect for preparing steaks, and a few other surprises that make any kitchen feel legendary. I've always wondered, what's your ultimate steak experience? That first unforgettable bite can stay with you for years. I remember trying a perfectly grilled ribeye at a tiny family-run restaurant. The sizzle, the aroma, it wasn't just a meal, it was a memory. What's the steak that stayed with you forever? While I take a moment to saw a bit here, imagine this. Crafting a sword inspired by Thor himself. There's something almost magical about shaping metal with your own hands. Did you know that swords have been symbols of power and honor for thousands of years? From Viking legends to medieval knights, every blade carries a story. The process itself teaches patience. Each cut, each polish is a lesson in precision and respect for the craft. It's more than work. It's history you can touch. And here's a fun fact. In Norse mythology, Thor's hammer is famous, but swords were equally revered. They were seen as extensions of the warrior's soul. Now I want to ask you, if you could forge a weapon from legend, what would it be? Something mighty or something elegant? If you are enjoying this journey through flavor and legend, don't forget to subscribe. There's so much more story and taste coming your way. Right now, I'm chopping everything for a unique twist on Pilaf, using buckwheat instead of rice. The aroma already promises something incredible. Did you know that buckwheat has been a staple in Eastern European cuisine for centuries? It's hearty, nutritious, and absorbs flavors beautifully. Mixing it with Pilaf traditions creates a dish that's both comforting and surprising. Every bite tells a story of culture and creativity. What's your favorite twist on a classic dish? Share your culinary experiments in the comments, friends. Now it's time to enjoy some tea. There's something magical about these quiet moments, just you and the warmth of the cup. I love how a simple tea break can turn into a small ritual. Pausing, reflecting, and appreciating the little things in life. I remember a rainy afternoon, sitting by the window with a steaming cup, watching the drops slide down the glass. That calm stayed with me for hours. The pilaf with buckwheat is finally ready, and the aroma is irresistible. Each grain soaked in flavor tells its own story. Did you know that pilaf originated over 1,000 years ago and has traveled across cultures from Persia to Eastern Europe? Every region adds its own twist. Next, I'm heading over to check on the steaks. A good steak, like pilaf, is all about timing and respect for the ingredients. Now it's time to chop everything up. The rhythm of the knife and the aroma in the kitchen, it's pure satisfaction. All right, let's taste this. The moment of truth is always the most exciting. Will the flavors live up to the story?
Super.
If you've enjoyed this culinary journey, make sure to subscribe. There's plenty more stories and flavors waiting for you. The kids are happy, and honestly, that's what matters most. Nothing beats the joy of sharing good food with loved ones.